Computer, here we go. Hey everyone, it's Jay again, and this is my Best Self podcast. And as always, I just want to start by sending you good health, love, kindness, happiness, and all that good stuff because you definitely deserve it. So I'm really excited about today because I've got Talaya back on, and she's going to be like part two of a two-parted podcast, if you like. The first part was all about Talaya, the human being, and her story. And if you haven't seen that, I'd still say it's worth going back, watch that one, and then watch this one afterwards. Your choice, of course. That's the way I would do it, because then you get the human being, because her story will give credence to what she actually does now, which I'm looking forward. I know a little bit about. However, I'm looking forward to really hearing exactly what it is. So, Talaya, first of all, thank you for coming back on. And if you want to just reintroduce yourself and let us know what it is that you do now.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Jay, so much for having me back again. I'm honored to be here with you. And if you didn't watch the first video, I am Talaya Dendy. I'm a 13-year cancer thriver. And my experience is what prompted me to become a cancer doula. I did not ask for permission to become a cancer doula. What I am essentially doing are filling the gaps based on what I needed when I was going through my cancer journey. And that is basically bridging the gap between the medical and the emotional sides of cancer, because there is a human being that is facing cancer. It's not just about treating the cancer. In addition to being a cancer doula, I'm a board certified patient advocate, as well as a health and wellness coach, podcaster, and I'll leave it there. But as I mentioned, my health journey, my experience with cancer is what prompted me to become a patient advocate, to become a cancer doula. And as a cancer doula, I walk with my clients and sometimes their loved ones through their cancer journey, helping them to navigate cancer, navigate the healthcare system so that they can reclaim their life, so that they can get on with their life and not succumb to cancer, not succumb to all the stress and all the different things that come along with cancer. I do that by providing one on one personalized support. So it's really about what the client needs. Some people just need me to listen and offer a little guidance, answer questions. Some people may need me to do some research for them about a doctor, getting a second opinion. Hey, what is what's a good resource for mouth sores, that kind of thing. Some people are just not getting the information that they need from their healthcare team. They feel very disconnected. So they're wondering how I can help them get their care coordinated between all the different people on their healthcare team. Some people may be having issues with communication. That could be with their loved ones, of course, their healthcare team, their employer, even. And so I work with clients on helping them to come up with scripts, to have those tough conversations, and to really get that good, healthy communication going so that they are not harboring all these feelings and emotions. They're actually able to talk about them in a way that's comfortable and healthy for them and make those connections. I've noticed that a lot of times there's a breakdown in communication between loved ones when someone's diagnosed with cancer. And that can happen on both sides, understandably. And so sometimes I just serve as a mediator and say, hey, client one is feeling like they're not being heard. Client two feels like, well, they don't even know what to say. And so, kind of helping them to get that conversation going, get that connection back so that they can actually, you know, be there for each other instead of growing further apart. The other thing that I focus on for some people is health, creating those healthy lifestyles. You know, once someone's diagnosed with cancer, that is the key. Really improving health, improving fitness, improving relationships, all these different things, people pleasing, getting rid of those things. Maybe it's addressing trauma. It could be so many different things. And as I mentioned, it's all personalized one on one support. The other piece is, as I mentioned, emotional support, helping people get to a good mindset, a good place where they're able to receive information, credible information, ask questions, make the best decisions for themselves. And so just letting people know that someone who has been through cancer is here to listen and guide you as well. I'm able to do this with people anywhere in the world because all of my services are offered remotely via Zoom or over the phone. Of course, most people prefer to meet over Zoom. If there's any people that are concerned about HIPAA, their information getting out there or being compromised, I actually use a HIPAA compliant software where we can actually meet still via Zoom, but through this application that is HIPAA compliant, they have all this encryption. I can share information via that platform as well so that we're not sharing information via Gmail or whatever email provider that you use. Um, right now, I have something else which is called Pen Pal support. That is basically support that's just via email. That might be for people who have financial constraints. Maybe they just feel so overwhelmed with all their appointments. They don't want to have to meet with another person via video or phone. They don't want to have to worry about their schedule. And so that's an opportunity for people to submit their questions, submit their concerns via email, and we kind of go back and forth that way. And so those are really my key services for the cancer doula piece. Now, for the health and wellness coaching piece, that of course addresses so many different things. And I wanted to become a health and wellness coach because I see how important it is to try to address as many things that are not in alignment with one's health and wellness before they get a diagnosis. Or maybe they've been diagnosed with high blood pressure. Okay, what can we do to better manage that? What are some lifestyle changes and decisions that you can make to better manage that and then even, improve it? And so some people have sleep issues. Some people have, financial concerns or financial wellness that they want to improve on. So it's so many different things. And I think it's really important to make sure that I am helping to provide support on the specific thing that the client feels is important for them.
Amazing. I just put myself on mute again just to make sure I got all of that in. So going back to the cancer doula piece, because there were so many really important bits of information there. Thank you so much for sharing and articulating that. And for me, obviously, in what I do, there's a lot of synergy, and it's the stuff that you've touched on around family members, how they react when that individual gets cancer. The disconnect from the medical teams and the person, without a shadow of a doubt, I'd say the biggest common denominator that I've experienced when working with people with cancers, especially terminal cancer, is the fact that they feel like they've lost their essence of being themselves. It's like they are told, you're going to be here, this is what to expect, even down to, how many months or years they supposedly have left. So I was talking to someone about this morning, actually, just how it rips away the one thing inherently in human beings that we thrive on, which is our life, our source of feeling in control of our life. Now, why for me it's so important that people hear it from you is because when you went through your journey with cancer, which again, people, if you're hearing this and you've not watched the first one, watch the first one, because it will really hit this one home, the importance of what Talaya does. You didn't have another Talaya. You didn't have a cancer doula at that point. You just had yourself. So you had to have gone through how it felt to all of a sudden, like again, to summarize Talaya's story, completely healthy young lady, fit, worked out, all of the above, and all of a sudden, gets told she's got cancer. So completely out of the blue, completely rocked your world. That initial, so looking at yourself, giving yourself as the example, if you had you back then in that, then because it's the transitional part is the first part, isn't it? It's that the shock, the fear, the unknown, and everything else. Why is that side of things, and touching on again that detachment, not detachment, the detachment in regards to having any sort of say in the medical side of things, where you're just sort of expected to be just sit down and listen. Then with the family, the way they react, the whole thing. If you can sort of give that from a perspective of being a doula for you in that period, that what difference would that have made to your life?
Yes. So as I mentioned, this I'm doing what I'm doing because of what I experienced. I was not aware of a cancer doula in 2011 when I was diagnosed with cancer. I went to one support group. I ran out of there after 10 minutes. There wasn't anyone for me to talk to who understood what I was going through. Had I had someone like me that was a cancer doula at that time, it would have made a world of difference. It would have saved me so much time from doing so much research, putting together my own health and wellness plan. Someone would have been able to help me do that, researching different modalities to help manage anxiety and stress, learning how to calm my body and my nervous system. Those are all things that I actually learned on my own by going out and saying, how can I help myself? And also, I think for me, one thing was doing the research came naturally for me. I'm very analytical, but for some people that may not be their cup of tea. They may not want to know all the data, all the statistics and things like that. They may just want a high level. So that's another place where, someone like me, a cancer doula, would be very helpful. And then also, people need help making those connections with the healthcare team, especially if they are from diverse populations. Maybe they don't have a lot of money and they're from a generation where you don't question the person in the white coat. So there's a lot of different things behind that too. Some people may not have the education to know what questions to ask, where to look, how to make those connections. And so for me, it was really critical because I felt like my life was on the line. And so I stepped into my power and did all these things for myself. But there may be people that are not able to do that. There may be people that just don't have the energy to do that. Not saying that they can't, but they may just be so emotionally drained that
Mm.
they're just like, I need an extra hand. And I would have taken that extra hand had it existed in 2011.
I can imagine, because you're thrust immediately into something that just changes your whole world. So everything about you, first of all, it's you, the professional, it's you, the daughter, it's you, for different people, mothers, it's you, the father, it's you, the brother, that, for each individual, it's all the role, it's everything gets affected immediately. And it's forced upon you. And I say this with the greatest respect for all of us, and we receive it from a place of ill education because we're not taught about this stuff in any way, shape, or form. The little we do know about cancer is, number one, it's horrible. It's not what you want to get. And then your sort of mind would then go to, well, what options? Well, it's going to be radiotherapy or chemotherapy. There's nothing in between. There's none of all the finer caveat details that make the human being, which are things that, your exercise, your diet, your mental well-being, like how to now, face and move forward. Because from my experience, and of course you can tell me different, I'd say it's very difficult for any human being to just erase that from their mind. Like it's gonna be obviously some days better than others, but at times it's just there, isn't it? It's floating around because until you're told it's no longer there, it is there, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's there. And that's the other thing, coming up with ways to not make it the center of your life every single day. Because I say you're still alive, you're still living. You just happen to be someone who has been diagnosed with cancer. You are not cancer.
Mm.
Let's figure out how to normalize your life as much as possible. Maybe we need to make some adjustments. Maybe you're someone who worked out every day and now you're not able to because of whatever treatment you decided, or you're not feeling well, whatever that looks like. How can we make some adjustments so that you can still work out at the level that you're at right now? And
Mm,
for even that, Jay, may be hard for some people to really grasp and comprehend, like, I'm in a different place right now. And that is okay. That's okay. You may not be operating up here like you were before, but that doesn't mean you just have to stop. Let's find out where you are at now, and let's
mm.
figure out how we can make some adjustments so that you can still function and you can still live life where you're at right now without thinking about cancer 24/7. Of course, it's there. Of course, you're worried about scans. Of course, you're worried about, all these different, how I'm going to pay for this. Am I going to lose my job? Of course. All of those things are there. But still, you get to decide to a certain point what your quality of life looks like. What are the things that you can control? Let's talk about those things. Let's create and put systems and strategies in place to keep your life going forward as much as possible.
Absolutely. And the amount of times you just said now, 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 and that's a big thing for me because in what I do, again, and it's funny because when I wrote the piece about you and the description of our last video underneath on the platform, I said, over the years, over the last 10 years, I've worked with many people, and then I've learned from people that, like yourself, and developed my own sort of four-pillared approach to that well-being, encapsulating, like yourself, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, diet, exercise, all of it, because absolutely every part of it needs your attention. And that's the thing, your attention. You need to be present in the now. All of a sudden, more than anything else, once you're in that mind state, it's so easy. And again, justifiably understandable why it's so easy to start going off into the future of dread and doom. However, the truth is that is all fiction. You don't know what the future is. And that practicing being in the now and doing all the little things that you said as well, which will help keep you in that state of normal, if you like, for want of a better label, where you were prior to that diagnosis. Because that, like you said, I often say to people, like, when you get it, it's like a jacket, cancer, and it's how the individual chooses to wear it. Some people, unfortunately,
Right.
just wrap themselves up in that cloak, and it becomes every part of them, and it becomes the family topic of conversation. It becomes a friend's topic of conversation. Work colleagues just talk. Whereas other people, like yourself, they sort of say, right, okay, this I know this is there, but I'm not putting this jacket on. What I'm trying to do is give this jacket back and stay doing all the things that have made you you the whole time that you've been you. And that includes, and this is where friends and family are so important. When friends and family are around, they treat you the same. They don't like, it's not
Exactly.
all the little side glances of dread and grief that you can feel because they're thinking, oh, if it was me, this, but it's not you. And I say that with great respect. It's not, it's this person. So
Yeah.
what you need to do is show up as your best self and be present with that person. As the biggest thing that you're trying to do, again, just from what I've observed, is you're trying to stay present in yourself because your mind is so active onto what's going to happen. Like you said, the job, the relationships, my life, and everything in between. It's easy to go to the extremes because cancer is scary. But like you said, we have no control over it. That literally is the only thing we've got is how we choose to feel in the moment.
Mhm. You're absolutely right. And one thing that I wanted to touch on was that, you know, sometimes there are going to be days where you're going to have to take it minute by minute. So you have to have flexibility as well. You may have to make adjustments out the day to get through the day. The next day you may be like, I got this. This is so easy. You're not even thinking about it much. The other thing that I think is really important when it comes to family and friends, they follow your lead. You set the tone. So however you show up, that's how they're going to show up. And I learned that when I asked for space, when I got my diagnosis, you know, of course, when I called them, I probably had fear and all these things in my voice. But when they talked to me that Monday, I was a different person because I realized that they're following my lead. I get to say what I need, and, you know, what this looks like. I get to decide that. And so I realized that when I asked for space that Friday, I'm like, okay, I kind of get to set the tone. However I react, they're going to follow my lead. If I'm in panic all the time, they're going to be in panic.
Mm.
But then the flip side of that is, as the family members need to understand this, and that's why it's so important that sometimes I talk to family members as well, is because they need to realize as well that the person with cancer, they're not in charge of managing how they feel. The family, they're not in charge of that, you know. But at the same time, you need to respect the person with cancer and their feelings, and what they want, what they need, what they're telling you they want and need. And you, the family, the friends, you really have to respect that. Don't enforce what you want for them onto them. And that is really hard for loved ones to really grasp,
Mm.
because of course they don't want to see the person that they love sick or not feeling well. And so there's a fine dance, there's a fine balance where the family needs to realize that the person with cancer, they get to enforce their autonomy.
Mm.
It's them, they're the ones going through it. You know, support them in whatever it is that they decide to do, whether you agree with it or not, because that's not a time to create more friction. That's not a time to force or impose your thoughts and beliefs onto them. You have to respect how they're feeling, you know. And I know that can be really hard. I've talked with families where, someone decided, I'm just tired of going through this treatment. It's not working. I feel horrible every single day. I want to see what's out there that's not so invasive. I want to go to a naturopath or naturopathic oncologist and see what they think. Or I'm going to just go do a 360 and go completely alternative. And although a loved one may not agree with that, as a loved one, you have to respect that. That's their choice. And that is something that I see so many families struggle with.
Me too, unfortunately, is because, again, I go back to that. It's completely from a place of love, but it is
Mhm.
totally ill-educated and oblivious fear. Because again, it's not a judgment. Quite often, just like the individual with the cancer, the daughter, the granddaughter, the grandson, the husband, the father, the mother, they are as ill-educated as the individual. So at the moment, this whole fear is not based on any knowledge. It's based on oblivious fear, which is horrible. It's fear of the unknown. And the effect that there was a lady, I may have told you this story at some point. So after it all started with my uncle Laurie, my whole journey with cancer.
Yeah.
And after Laurie, the first lady I worked with, first non-family member was a lady, Debbie. What an amazing, and this was obviously prior to meeting yourself. And it was her that taught me the whole, at times, having to cut off even your nearest and dearest if the energy that they're bringing. So for Debbie, I'll give the example. So Debbie has three, I say has because she's still alive. In fact, she was on my breathwork course last night. So shout out to you, Debbie, if you watch this. Um, Debbie's got three daughters, five grandkids. There may be more now. This was 7, 8 years ago. And when Debbie got sick, she went, it's funny, what you just described, they caught it very late. They'd misdiagnosed her for a long time. It was a form of breast cancer. They'd misdiagnosed her for a long time. So when they finally gave her the diagnosis, it was a rush. Right, we need to do this amount of radiotherapy, this amount of chemotherapy. And she used to describe to me, she'd go into chemo and they would put this mask on her face that she said I could feel, I couldn't hardly breathe. She said, I'd like, and the fear in itself of just laying there, she said, because, people forget your mind is still as that, no matter what your body's been diagnosed with, your mind
Yep.
is as healthy as it's ever been. So you're laying there, she said, thinking, this isn't me. Like, I cannot believe this is happening to me. And she's got that ongoing fight. And with Debbie, they ended up saying that they offered her something like 6 months, or maybe wrong, it was something, I know, let's just be conservative and say it was 3 months worth of treatment, but they wanted to crash course it in the space of something like half the time. So it was like an ongoing thing. And she said she did 6 sessions and she said, that's it. I can't do this anymore. She said, I feel, not I think, and it was her that gave it, was very careful with my words, because she said, this is the problem, James. Everyone tells me what I'm thinking. No, I feel this is killing me. This treatment is killing me. That's how I feel. And no one can refute that feeling for me. And she made a decision where she ended up moving sort of away, and we went on a journey, just me and her together, and she cut off her 3 daughters, she cut off her 5 grandkids, and I suppose there's certain bits I can't share, but the daughters were in a state of sheer panic, even saying things to their mum that they would do to their own bodies, as if you don't do this, I'm going to do this to me, not as in self-harm, as in what they would be willing to do with their breasts, just out of, again, just completely gone so far into a level of fear that Debbie said, I can't take that energy, James. I can't. Like, at this point, that is not going to help me heal. And she pulled herself away. She went on her own journey, which I was very privileged to be a part of, alternative and natural. And she's still here, today. And that, my point is, to what you just said, that's how important it is that loved ones respect the choice of the individual, because without doing it, and obviously you're not doing it intentionally, you can cause more harm than good, just with your energy, just with your, with your judgment. That's a big thing as well,
Absolutely. It's huge. And the person has cancer, they haven't lost their mind. They're not, when they get the diagnosis, they're not at a state where they can't think for themselves, and so you have to continue to allow them that space. Then also, the other thing that I learned is that it's about exploration too. There's so many things out there that we don't even know about. And what works for me may not work for you. But let's find the thing that works for you. It's okay to, find credible information and resources and learn about what else is out there. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to take the first thing that's given to you, you know, go and see what else is out there. But when you're doing that exploration, and see, this is another thing that I do when I work with people. What kind of quality of life do you want? Not what you had, because quite frankly, that may have contributed to your diagnosis in some kind of way. So let's talk about, you're here right now. What do you want this to look like going forward? You get to decide what that looks like to a certain degree. So let's start to 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 get clear on that. So when you're making decisions, you're thinking about, is this going to serve the quality of life that I want to have going forward? And that's where a lot of people don't take the time either. Of course, they're so focused on staying alive, overcoming cancer. But I always want people to think about, why are you going through this? What do you want to get from this? What is this saying to you? And really think about those things, because for me, no one explained that to me, but it happened. It happened. It was something that, I'm very spiritual. It was just like, you have to heal from these treatments and all these things. You have this time off from work. Let's really dig deep and look at what else is going on around you. What else, what can you control? What can you change? How have you contributed to where you're at right now? And let's look at all those things. One of the best things I could have done for myself. But a lot of times there's not that pause. People don't know to take that space for themselves and do that exploration. it's your life. You get to decide. There are certain things that you get to control and make decisions on. And I just want people to take that pause and remind them that this space is yours. The floor is yours right now, more than ever. The spotlight's on you. And so you do what you need to do to be happy, to be healthy, to meet your spiritual needs, to meet your emotional needs, mental needs. I'm not a therapist. Let's find you one if that's what you need. And so just looking at all of those things.
That was amazing. I mean, that's a great way, to be honest, to wrap this up, because that was just a wonderful, wonderful, heartfelt, message. It really was, because, like you said, concentrate on what you can control. I think that is, because that is the thing that gets tested. Yet you're living proof that it has to happen. So thank you so much, Talaya. What I'm going to do for people watching under this video is going to be lots of information that Talaya has been very kind to send over, including information of case studies as well, of details how you can reach out to Talaya, because like she said, just like me, she's remote. She can work with anyone, anywhere in the world. Obviously, time differences would have to be worked out. However, for example, for people that are watching this in the UK, I'm in Spain. I'm an hour in front of you guys in the UK. So it's currently it's 5:30 in the afternoon here. So it'd be 4:30 in the UK here, which would be 10:30 in the morning, which is working hours for Talaya. So actually, for the UK market, even after work would actually suit Talaya's business times, funnily enough. So yeah, I'm sure there's definitely connections that can be made. And even if it's just one person listens to this and realizes, you know what, there's someone out there that, you resonate with them, Talaya, and they want to reach out and they want to explore what options they have. What you can offer them is another choice. This is the thing. There is definitely, you're not saying that you have to do it your way. That is not your approach. What you are saying is, take control of what you can, which is education. Like, how can you educate yourself? Like, talking to who better than someone like you who's been through it, who's, yes, had allopathic, had the mainstream, looked at what naturally you could do to support it with your exercise, with your diet, with your relationships, all of that stuff, which anyone with any form of cancer, from my experience, these are the factors that you need to factor in to your journey into healing, because these are ones you can control. The allopathic medicine, the only control you have is choice. You don't get to control what happens to you. You do get to control how you support your own system alongside. So as you say, Talaya, you're working with the medical system, not for the medical system at the end of the day. So yeah, thank you, honestly. That was fantastic. That was nice and concise as well. So if I don't know if you want to say anything just to wrap this up, and we'll call it a day.
Thank you, Jay. I forgot to mention, for anyone who's interested, I offer a free 30-minute meet and greet. Fantastic. And that calendar is available on my website. If there's someone who's really in a different time zone and you're not seeing anything that works for you, just send me a message and we can kind of coordinate something that works for the both of us. But feel free to schedule that meet and greet. Share your concerns that you're struggling with, challenges that you're facing. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we can determine if it's something that you'd like support on. So thank you, Jay, so much for your time. Thank you for sharing my information. I appreciate it.
As much as I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Talaya. And for everyone that's watching, send you loads of good health, love, kindness. And like I said, reach out. Talaya's there. A free 30-minute conversation. What have you got to lose? You can only gain from that. So thank you very much, everyone. And Talaya, we'll speak soon.
Take care. Thank you.